Have a good day, sir. I'm Alvis Standarti from BS Entrepreneurship 1, Section ABQR2. Unfolding the emotional self. 5 components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulations, social skills, empathy, intrinsic motivation. Unfolding the mental health. Cognition. People are born with innate capabilities that empower them to manage themselves in various settings and situations. Begins to observe the environment, analysis information, makes choices, and behaves according to what the situation warrants. Memory. It is the faculty of the mind which information is acquired and retained for later use, where the processes of encoding, storing, and retrieving information continuously. Limited within specific conditions, select information to be retained and discard, whether irrelevant and useless, can be corrupted by various. Memory functions. Sensory memory is the level that allows information from the external environment perceived by an individual available sense. Short-term memory is where information is temporarily stored or readily available state. 10 to 15 seconds up to 1 minute can store up to 5 to 9 items. Long-term memory, often permanent and allows for repeated retrievals across situations. Intelligence, referred to as an individual capacity for understanding, learning, planning, and problem solving with logic, creativity, and self-awareness. The biological blueprint. Heredity is the transmission of traits from parents to offspring. The traits are made up of specific information embedded within one's gene, the basic unit of heredity. Example. An example of heredity is the likelihood that you will have blue eyes. Genotype refers to the specific information embedded within the one's genes. Not all genotypes translate to the observed physical characteristic. Example: height, freckles or no freckles, and lactose. Phenotype is the physical expression of a particular trait that can be directly observed. Environmental conditioning. Genetic information isn't the only factor that influences the physical self. As you grow up, you are exposed to environmental influences that shape your physical self, including those from your social circle, societal expectation, and cultural practices. Example: society. Deep in the sexual self. The socio-biological aspect of the self, a vital aspect of one's identity, is the sexual self, as it includes the biological, physical, emotional, and even social domain. Bodily transformations and the development of secondary sexual characteristics during adolescence also trigger physiological responses, leading to the beliefs and behavior associated with sex. The biology of sex. At birth, the sexual genital is a biological feature that distinguishes most from females. During puberty, observable changes in the human body, both males and females, start to occur. Aside from the physical development brought by adolescence, the release of hormones, testosterone for males, estrogen for females, triggers physiological changes in the reproductive system. A person should be aware of her sexuality and sexual attributes to make responsible decisions. Adolescents need to realize the importance of having informed choices. Engaging in sexual activities may not be ready for pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases. Consequences of sexual choices. Early pregnancy. Having a child entails big responsibility, and it should not merely be a consequence of an impulsive moment. Risk of acquiring sexual disease. Syphilis, chlamydia, and genital warts. AIDS caused by HIV. Transmitted by contact between broken skin, wounds, or mucous membranes, and HIV-infected blood or blood-contaminated body fluids. The nature of philosophy. Concerns about asking the right questions, to have answers to the problems that trouble every person from every discipline. Primarily, the center of inquiry is about the problems on ultimate reality, causes, reasons, and principles of everything. It produces controversies among the philosophers. Socrates, is it worth asking about what self is? Why? Yes, because an unexamined life for self is not worth living. He even claimed that he knows nothing, but the oracle of Delphi tells that he is the wisest man. What is certain is that the essence of self is the soul which strives for wisdom and perfections, leading us into an exalted state. What is self for Socrates? Self should be examined through striving for wisdom and perfections, leading us into an exalted state. Plato vs. Socrates. Where can we find the exalted state of the self? Plato. We can only find the exalted state of the self in the ideal world because it is the realm of the perfect, while the phenomenal world is subject to imperfections. Our soul then must be directed up in looking at what is ideal. There are two worlds, the ideal and the phenomenal. What is self for Plato then? Self is a soul which has the task of looking what is the ideal. What is self for David Hume? There is no such thing as self. What is called self is just a succession of perception or bundle of experiences that makes the self to be identified. What is self for Immanuel Kant? Self is just a product of our aesthetic judgment that enable us to give us a picture of what self is. Recent philosophical investigation about self shifted from focusing into one's mental or conscious aspect of self to neurological one that is from conceptual to scientific. Other perspectives of the self. Sociology. It is a study of the collective behavior of the self. In sociology is understood by how social institutions and relationships social impact one's thoughts and behavior. Anthropology. It is the study of the cultures from past to present. The self is an anthropology is understood by how it relates the culture in the broadest sense. Psychology. It is a study of the human behavior of the self in psychology that is understood as a theoretical construct. That's all. Thank you and God bless.